Hi, Mark. This is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks so much for taking the time out today
Oh,
to join this discussion. I know we had some scheduling snafus on my end, so my apologies before we even started the discussion.
no worries at all. And I appreciate you, carrying this because anything that raises awareness to fire safety it's going to save lives. So thank you.
Oh, no, you're most welcome. Because fire safety, life safety, it all comes into play. And I tell you, I'm troubled like you because I'm a dad, and some of the things that go through my mind at nighttime is, okay, is the family safe?
Of course.
What do I need to do to safeguard my family? So before I go to sleep, I'm not sure about you, if there's any candles that are lit or, outlets that, iPad or Apple or, Android devices plugged into outlets. I'm unplugging them. I do. And my wife thinks I'm just a maniac. She's just like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just doing a sweep.
Well, I'll tell you, I know all the statistics, so it's always on my mind because I know where you're most likely to have a problem. I can't tell you how many times in the morning I turn on my coffee machine and go back in 10 minutes, and it's because I unplugged it the night before.
Right.
It's like, oh, damn it, So, but you're better safe than sorry, and again, that's really where we come in with our system approach. Is we know where fires begin. We know the highest risk locations in every home, and that's what our products solve that problem. We place our sensors right in harm's way, right where we know fires begin. So whenever you're ready, let me know, and I'll go right into to what we do.
So, Mark, definitely, I will decrease and allow you to increase, because that was my first initial question was, tell me about safer alarms. Tell our listeners about safer alarms. And also, more importantly, tell us about, where do fires start? Like, what are some things that we should do? What are some tips? I hate to use the word tips and tricks, but what should parents know that will work for them best? Because in their minds, well, I'll speak for myself. Okay, so I have my alarm system. Okay, an alarm system does, various monitoring. And it comes with a smoke detector. So if I wasn't in the tech world, I would say, okay, I'm good. I have nothing to worry about. I have a third-party company doing XYZ, and I could just close my eyes. But, being tech-savvy, that, hey, I got to walk through. I got to make sure things are unplugged. I got to make sure, hey, if this is a faulty outlet, I've got to address it. So tell us about Safer Alarm, and tell us about your data, and, tell our listeners your story.
So what we did is for 50 some odd years, we've been detecting the derivative of fire, but it's the smoke that kills you. So with our products, for the first time, why risk inhalation when now you don't have to? The reason smoke, fires don't begin in the middle of the ceiling in the hallway. They begin in the electrical, at the outlets. They begin in the kitchen. They begin in the laundry room. Well, you're not according to the OSHA and building codes, you're not supposed to place traditional smoke detectors in laundry rooms and bathrooms because humidity levels affect the nature of the sensors. Well, what we did was we used a temperature sensor that detects the heat itself at the highest risk locations in every home. You're allowed to place us right at the outlets themselves. And I'm talking about the outlets that have power strips, whether it's behind the desk in your home office where you've got your Wi-Fi, your modem, your computers, all of these IoT products, Internet of Things products require charging, whether it's your laptop, your iPad, iPhone, Samsung Galaxy, whatever it is, that's where they overheat. a lot of these older homes can't handle all these new gadgets. So everything's plugged in. Everything requires electricity. Those are the places. The basement, you've got a dehumidifier. It's probably an old one, and you plug it in, or in the living room, in your man cave, you plug in grandma's Tiffany lamp that you inherited, and you're scared to death because it's a ratty old plug, right? So
yes.
we allow the consumer for the first time to place our sensors right at the source, right in harm's way. And then once we detect that fire event, that rise in temperature, once it gets to that critical Fahrenheit degree, which is 150 degrees, we know there's a fire there, whether it's in the wall and there's no smoke yet, we know that that's an event. And we immediately, in a nanosecond, send our signal to our remote alarm, which is in that safe traditional location. So as a system, we keep sounding the alarm even after our sensor unit's destroyed in that fire. Some of these electrical fires are very, very hot, very, very fast, and they spread. And,
right.
And if you're upstairs asleep and that dehumidifier is downstairs in the basement and you have a battery-only smoke detector, you're not going to hear that, not until the smoke billows out of the basement, gets to the main floor. Hopefully
totally.
those... And that's really what we do. You know, we don't replace your smoke detectors. But,
okay.
Think about the kitchen. What's the first thing you do Sunday morning when you burn the toast? You take the batteries out of that and you throw it in the drawer. We've all done it. And I've done it.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
And the statistics are staggering. When I say we've all done it, I mean we've all done it. So what our sensor is, you place it, near where you have that crock pot, near where you have the hot plate, near the toaster oven. And if there's a problem in the electrical from those appliances, we're going to gather the heat right away. You could blow cigar smoke at us all day long, nothing's going to happen. So we eliminate those nuisance alarms in the kitchen, and we're still, sending that signal to that remote alarm, which keeps screaming even after this sensor is destroyed. We've got a Christmas-specific product where, believe it or not, you're 3 times more likely to have fires during the Christmas season than any other time of year. And the reason is you're bringing in, whether it's a Christmas tree or even menorahs, these are live candles. And every year, holiday-specific fires occur, and as I said, it's 3 times more likely. So we have this pretty little ornament that's the same color as the tree, so you hide it in your Christmas tree, or to be heard, not seen. You're to be heard, not seen. So that is our sensor. And again, why shouldn't I just place an $8 smoke detector where I have my tree? And the reason is, Christmas trees tend to go up like Christmas trees, right? So they're very, very fast, very hot. That's going to melt that detector before it's effective. It's not going to get you out of the house. It won't do its job. What we do is place a sensor right where we know those fires begin, right in the highest risk locations, and then again we send the signal to our remote, which is in that safe location. So as a system, we meet all building codes. We're going to scream at 90 decibels for the minute and a half required, and we're going to get you out of the house faster. Faster detection is safer detection, safer alarms.
So we're speaking with Marc Toland from the inventor, chairman, president of Safer Alarms. Marc, got a question. So your device works to complement the standardized smoke detector, devices.
Right.
So
right.
Tell me this much. When you plug the unit into the wall, and then on top of it, so I guess for our listeners, we can visualize it to work kind of like a smart plug, where yes or no?
Well, so no. What we've done is most fires begin at that electrical. So what we do is we recommend you find where you have an overloaded plug strip. I've got a 12-year-old daughter. If she has her friends over for a sleepover, I've got 2 full power strips full of every charger you can imagine. If there's an arc or a spark, they're in trouble, right? And that's where you place us. You don't plug us in. We are a battery-only, multi-year system, so you don't get that annoying chirp every 6 months.
Okay.
You put the batteries in, and we've got a command strip, so you just stick it to the wall right above the outlet that you know is at high risk.
Oh, so it's not actually being plugged into the outlet.
You're not using one of the outlets itself. We're not.
Oh, okay.
We don't add to the power draw.
Okay,
We're
gotcha.
going to detect it. So we're going to, and that's the thing. If you've got a fire in your wall, by the time the smoke billows out and gets to the hallway, to the detector, it might be too late. That room is ablaze. So we're going to get it at the heat right there. And then we send our signal to the remote alarm, which, as I say, is in a traditional safe location where you know you're going to hear it. So even if there's a fire from the basement, you know, you've got your remote alarm right above the doorway in Mom and Dad's room.
So I do have a question for you. Let's just say for our viewers or our listeners that are the owner of like townhouses, and let's say they have 3 floors. Do you give the option for multiple appliances where you can, you know? So basically, I'm concerned that, hey, something's happening on the 3rd floor, but whomever is sleeping on the 1st floor.
Right.
How are they to hear that? Do you make that option available? Is that additional?
Yes.
I mean, tell us about that.
No. So we also have a 4-in-1 standalone system. It's battery only. So, you know, the 4 most likely places in a home. But then if, let's say you've got a 5-story walk-up, 1-bedroom apartments in New York City, you know, the building manager or the landlord can say, hey, guys, just put these in. I need all of you to put this in. Here it is. And then that remote can, you know, eventually what we'll do is for building management type of things, to answer your question, our next generation, which is coming out end of 2nd quarter, early 3rd quarter, will be addressable. So if you have a central station or you have a monitoring system already, we simply we interface or connect with that wirelessly, and then that system becomes the alarm. So you place our sensors all over that building, wherever you want them. You know, old Mrs. Jones in 4B still smokes, and God forbid she falls asleep, right?
Yes.
So we got you right there, right at that source. And again, you know, faster detection is safer detection.
That is so true. Hey, is there down the road, or like I'm thinking more on the lines of strategic planning with safer alarms, is there like a mobile app that's going to be coming out to complement your hardware device?
Well, of course, and that's really the future of these, you know, smart homes. And one of the things we say all the time is it's not enough to just be a smart home anymore. You need to be a safer smart home. So we built this system to you know, be addressable. So we want to be able, and you know, we've made it affordable. We're less expensive than other wireless dual products or multi-unit products. We're not going to get into the monitoring end of things, not yet anyway. We'll cut deals. We'll cut deals with those existing players. And in this industry right now, these are the big boys, and they've got, you know, 30, 40 million households. So if we can add our sensors to their family of products, you know, we'll let and you, let's say you use ADT. I'm just using their name because everybody knows them. So let's say we were able to offer their customers, or they offer their customers, our sensor. You know, that's great. And we're, you know, not only are we going to be everywhere you shop retail, but we also want to be able to wholesale this to the people that are already in that business, because my thing is, the more units of these sold, the more lives are saved. And if they're already there, they're already in the market, they've already got those 10 million households, well then let them offer it to their customers directly, or buy it on my website. Once we are able to cut that deal at the wholesale level and license it out to those players, that's really the holy grail for us, because you're right. You want to make sure that, hey, I'm out of town. My something happened. There was a short, a blackout. They turned their grid back on, and boom, my house went on fire. I'm not there. I live in a rural area. Well, we just called the fire department. They're on their way. So those are the kind of things. Those are the kind of things that you really have to address, and our products will be able to tie in to those monitoring companies.
So give me, it sounds like you have a plethora of products. So give me, I guess, a range, a price range for...
Sure. So sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
As I said, we'll be shipping in April.
Okay.
We have pre-orders now. You can go to our website, SaferAlarmsInc.com. And you can pre-buy now, beat the Christmas rush, and then we're going to be launching. So we'll be shipping to consumers in April, and we're going to use Amazon obviously, and then we'll start to use the brick and mortar retailers as well. We've got great traction and great interest to be carried at a lot of these major retailers, and what the price, so our price point is for the one-to-one system. So you get your one sensor, your one alarm, let's say for your laundry room or your kitchen. That'll retail MSRP at $69.99. And then the Christmas product, which is the pretty little ornament you hide in the tree, and then you have the same remote. Again, that's $69.99. And then the deal of the century is the all home-in-one, 4-in-1 safer home alarm system, and that's $149.99 MSRP. Hey,
before I get out of here, Mark, question: what's the? I guess if you can come up with the top 3 tips for fire protection or fire safety that parents need to know?
Is number one, and that's one of the things that I love about doing these type of interviews, is even if you don't want to buy our products and you think your smoke detector is enough, maybe this just reminds somebody to change the batteries in that old smoke detector, because that is enough to save lives. And that's your number one tip. Make sure your detectors are operable, period. And you can do it every one of the things we recommend is you do it when you change the clocks. So you're doing it twice a year. That's the first and foremost important thing. And then the second is, make sure those plug strips, unplug them when you can. Don't leave them. Yeah. You don't just leave them in. You got something behind your television with 50 things plugged in, and you never unplug it. That's a problem. Right. You're gonna get dust bunnies back there. You're gonna get use when you're taking them in and out. They get loose. That causes an arc. Those are your dust bunnies. So what we talked about earlier is, if you're not using an appliance every day, if it's something that you use once or twice a month, unplug it when you're not using it. That's a very, very important tip. And the other is make sure make sure that you're up to code with the carbon monoxide and smoke and that type of thing.
We're speaking with Marc Toland from Safer Alarms. Website is SaferAlarmsInc.com. Marc, tell our listeners about the best ways to find you on social media. Plug your website again. Sure.
So we're just launching now. It's been a 5-year overnight success, right? These are these are life safety devices, so they have to do exactly what they say. So we've just received the final testing from the third-party laboratories. So we'll have our UL standard, which is Underwriters Laboratory. That's our holy grail to be able to launch, and we just received that. So we just launched the website last week, and we are going to have a presence on social media. We're doing a big PR push and media campaign, which you're one of our first. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
yeah, so you can start looking us up and you can see our progress.
That was wonderful. Marc, I want to thank you for, as I said before, for taking the time out to tell us, to educate us on safer alarms, and we will definitely be in touch in the future.
I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
So before we bring them on, I have a few questions. Do you have kids? Are they constantly on their devices? I know for one, in my family, everyone's glued to iPads and Chromebooks and Netflix and Xbox One and you name it. And guess what? I'm having a problem with managing screen time. Because you know how to manage screen time? I usually manage screen time by saying, okay, and I start yelling and screaming, or my wife starts yelling and screaming, for my 8-year-old to get off their Chromebook. And then you're sitting there playing the game, walking up behind them to see if they're on or off their Chromebook. And I would say 99.9% of the time, even after you told them to get off the device, they're somehow connected in some way or chatting with one of their buddies from school. So, me personally, I need a solution. And I went out and I think I got one of the best. And I want to really introduce Mr. Stephen Pack, inventor of Koala Safe. Stephen, how you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Are you coming live tonight from Australia or are you in the States?
I'm coming live from San Francisco, actually, but still with the Australian accent.
Okay, gotcha. Steve, thanks so much for taking the time tonight. I will say to you, may the fourth be with you also.
Yeah, thank you.
I will say, help us out, help our listeners out, because everyone is fighting with their young ones with screen time. We're running into all types of issues. We don't know what to do. People text me and send me direct messages on Twitter for suggestions, and I said, you know what, I need to get an expert on here. So I want to turn this microphone over to you and hear your story.
Yeah. Well, firstly I'd say, thanks for having me on. And, that sort of problem and people reaching out to you, that was exactly what happened to me. And a couple of years ago, I was at my sister's place and, my nephew had just got really into Minecraft, which, along with YouTube is one thing I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with their kids getting addicted to or obsessed with.
Yes.
And, he was right into this Minecraft. And don't get me wrong, Minecraft is actually an awesome game. It actually teaches kids a lot, but it is also incredibly addictive. And it got to, I think at bedtime it was 8 o'clock, and she sort of, told him to get off. And, this sort of, it started out with a bit like, just 5 minutes more. And, she would joke around saying, oh, you're obsessed with that. And no, I'm not. But as time went on, it became really quite fierce. And, the arguments became worse and worse. And it became pretty clear that it was, just no longer healthy and no longer fun. And she made a throwaway comment to me, which was to say, Steve, if you could just make a box that would turn the internet off at bedtime, then I would be your first customer. And, as a computer nerd, I took that as a challenge and, got to working on a prototype. And that was actually where Koala Safe was born. And it's been quite a journey since then, but just that similar fight that, everybody's seen and everybody's had is where it all began.
That's great. That's great to hear because, I mean, so tell me this much, and this question might come from out of left field, but with you being in the tech world, at what point did technology become the parent?
Well, I take exception there. Like we and when we advertise, actually, sometimes we get trolled on social media occasionally, or in other forums where 90% of people will say thank God, like, this is such a useful tool, whereas others will be like, why do parents need technology? Can't they just be parents? Technology is not the parent. Technology is just a tool. And technology and tools help you do stuff. So there's no doubt that if, you can get your kids off their devices, like, of course, every parent can do that. It might be harder for some than others, depending on, whether they've always had very strict discipline in the area and depending on how spirited their child is. But technology, like Koala Safe, for example, can make it a lot easier because, you just set it up. Say, right, 8 o'clock, that's bedtime. 8 o'clock, internet goes off. There's no flight to be had. Like, there's no, what's happened? Well, the internet's off. It's 8 o'clock. That's just what it is. And that's been one of the really powerful things for our product and one of the really powerful learnings for us as a company, which is just that there's a psychological difference for kids when something happens on a schedule that's just sort of enforced by the computer. They're used to computers telling them, what's happening and, what time things are happening and when things are on and when they're off. And when they see the internet's off and it tells them when it'll next be on again, they're a lot more able to sort of process that and accept that than when they hear it from their parents.
Steve, I kind of think of when I've been in the computer lab or in a specific library and it states, hey, you have 15 minutes on this workstation. And you're going to pay attention to it. You're not going to lollygag around. You're really going to be into it, and you're going to say, oh, my goodness, let me get, to whatever I need to get to because, my time is about to run out. And I think you're totally correct. So tell me this much about Koala Safe. Is the solution itself hardware and software?
Yes, that's right. Hardware and software. The best way to explain it is maybe to quickly just say, like, what happens when you buy it, right? And you get a box in the mail, it arrives. So it's a physical box. You plug it into your router, and once you do that, you'll see a new Wi-Fi network in your house. So you might have had Comcast 123 before. Now you'll have Comcast 123, and you'll have Koala Safe. And then you join your kids' devices to Koala Safe. And that's you as a parent, you're unchanged. Your kids are now on this dedicated Koala Safe network. And then the last step is that you download our app onto your phone as the parent, and in that app you say, okay, internet's on at this time and it's off at this time. And you might you can block out some content if you want as well. You might say, I'm okay with the kids on Instagram, but I don't want them on Facebook. So you block that out. And it's just really sort of simple configuration on your phone, and that's the way you control it. So, yeah, it's the hardware creating that dedicated network for your kids, and then really simple software on your phone to do the controls.
So, is there a specific age range of what's the specific age range, or is there no age range that this type of product should be focused on?
Yeah, we get asked that a lot, and our sort of, the answer to that's really changed as we've seen over time how people use it. We used to sort of say, well, we think, probably from about 6 to about 12, is when kids need help with this stuff. But we've, the bottom end of it gets lower and lower and lower. Like, our first customers included people saying, our 4-year-old's obsessed. We need to put some sort of rules in place. And then, that number just keeps going down. Like 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, they're born with these devices now. And it's of course it's a good thing, for kids to have access to them and to learn technology. We all need it in life, but they're obviously not at an age that young when they can, regulate how much time they spend on it. So, what's the lower end of our products? Honestly, there is no lower age anymore. For the upper end, once kids get to their late teens, then, they've probably got their own phone and their own car and, they're able to get out of the house. So there it really depends on the teenager and the family. But definitely kids up to even 16 who have trouble focusing on their homework, where they've got, just Facebook messages and Instagram notifications coming through, being able to, as a parent, just to block out that social media, during homework time, is also really useful.
Steve, I got to ask you a silly question, and I say it's silly because we're both techs by trade. The silly question is, if let's just say it's the 12-year-old, the 13-year-old that kind of knows, hey, I can go log on to my LTE network. Does QualiSafe have a safeguard for something like that, or does it send any type of notification to say, hey, your Ted Hicks device 123 just jumped off the network, or anything else like that?
Good question, Ted. Good question. Right now, there isn't anything to prevent the data access, like the LTE access.
Okay.
I guess once you've given your child a phone with LTE access, then you've basically sort of given up on the the control aspect, and you've given them the freedom to do that. That said, there is a usage feature on the phone, so you can have a look at on the app, so you can have a look at when your kids were on their devices on QualiSafe. So yeah, if they are meant to be doing their homework from say 5 till 6, and you can go on and see that there's just no internet activity, or there's no internet activity to the homework sites that they're meant to be on, then that they're not doing what they're meant to be doing. So there's not a prevention, I guess, but the information's there in order for you to act on as a parent if you need to.
Got you. Hey, Steve, I got a couple of other questions, and I know we're tight for time. So is it strictly at phones, or have you expanded to, let's say, streaming devices or game consoles?
Yeah, no, both of those things. So any network device. So
nice.
Yeah, phones, tablets, Chromebooks, Xboxes. Yep, even smart TV. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, thanks, Ted. And that's actually one of the insights we had really early on, that, the old sort of players in this space, like your nannies and those sort of ones, and they had to be installed on every device. And,
right.
They came from an era when every device just meant a Windows PC sitting in the lounge room. And, that's just not the case anymore. We see sort of 7 and 8 devices as sort of around the average of that are in the home, not all being used at the same time, but that are there. So expecting parents to install some app or some security software on every one of those devices that works for Apple and Microsoft and Android and TVs and whatever, and expecting to check that it's up to date and all that, it's not feasible anymore. That's why we have the hardware device that does everything there in that central point and controls in a really familiar way with the phone.
Steve, at any point do you go non-tech and say, okay, as a family, maybe we should put together some type of family agreement to discuss the parameters of your product, just an overall statement, or amongst the parents to the children, to say, okay, hey, this is what we're putting in place, or do most parents just put it in place and don't tell their kids, and then all of a sudden, wham, bam?
No, occasionally we'll hear a story like that, but as you can imagine, if all of a sudden there were no restrictions and then there are, that creates a bit of tension in the household.
Yeah.
So most families, there'll be a discussion, and kids get it. They sort of, I think, even though it depends on the child, of course, but they might fight to a degree, but they do understand that unlimited time is not good, and that there needs to be some limitation, but they just don't have that ingrained ability yet to self-regulate. So they sort of get it. In our experience, when we talk to parents, the kids get it, that there needs to be some sort of control. And,
right.
Having that conversation where you negotiate what's the time and what's appropriate, is a good experience for both parent and child. And, things can be extended or pulled back depending on, how things are working out. And we've even had parents say, and this isn't great for us as a company, but it's great for the parents. So let's say just having it for a period of time and getting our kids used to the fact that there needs to be limits. Once we'd established that we didn't actually have to keep using the device for the limits. It was just to break that initial, obsessive behavior was enough for us to sort of get a healthier environment in the home, which, we sort of want to see the product providing value all through the life cycle. But, if for some families they only need it for a few months to create that healthier experience, well, that's great too.
Next to last question. With QualiSafe, on the interface, is there like a countdown ticker? Let's say like when you get to less than 5 minutes, or is there anything, or does like when you hit that point, that limit that was set, it just shuts off all network access? How is that interpreted by the child and or parent?
Yeah, good question. So it's not there now. It's not on that. It is on the future roadmap, but there isn't a sort of a countdown just yet. Saying that, the first time after QualiSafe's been installed in the home, even when the kids know the time that it's going off, when it first happens, the very first time they'll get a surprise. But very, very soon after that, they start to keep an eye on the time because they know that it's coming. And, it's like you were saying in the lab, like even there, okay, you were getting the notification, but if you sort of know that you've only got, that when you get home from school, the internet's going off in 2 hours, then you know that, sort of you use the time, well. So, we'd like to put that in. And we've had some sort of parents writing with some cool suggestions like, to actually, shape the box with in the shape of a plastic koala with a clock on the top, which would be pretty awesome. I haven't sort of got a quote from our supplier for doing that sort of thing yet. You can imagine it's not quite bubbled to the top of our list, but that would be pretty cool. Right.
So Steve, I wanted to ask you your strategic plan or your vision for QualiSafe. Let's say if I asked you, hey, 6 to 12 months, where do you want to see QualiSafe? What do you want the product to be? Yeah.
Well, like firstly, I want it in 1 million homes. We just, it helps people, it helps kids, it makes everybody happier, it creates a healthier environment, and it just gets that good balance between screen time, which is important so that kids learn all the technology, and playtime because they need to develop, in other ways, physically, emotionally, in all sorts of ways. It brings that balance and makes, them healthier, more well-rounded. So, I want to see that in many homes as I can. So, 1 million homes, that's my first goal. And we talk about that a lot internally. And, part of that is parents just knowing that there are solutions out there. Like, parents are constantly talking with each other about, this as a problem, but how do they solve it? And they just don't know that there are solutions. So I just, I want people to be able to say, like, I've got this problem and, I know that I can solve it with QualiSafe. So, that's the first goal. We want to be a household name, helping as many families as we can.
Perfect. Steve, I want to give you a round of applause, but before I do that, tell us best ways to find out more information about QualiSafe.
Okay, cool. Yeah, easiest way, QualiSafe.com. That's the website. You'll find plenty of info on there. We've also found a lot of our...
Valerie, how are you doing? This is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents.
Oh, hey, Ted. Great to talk to you. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Same here. So... thank you for joining today. This is Late Night Parents. Best ways to follow this discussion is latenightparents.com. We are speaking with Valerie Hines, who is the customer service manager for RedWeek. RedWeek is the largest online marketplace for renting, buying, and selling timeshares. So, Valerie, wonderful to meet you. Tell me all about RedWeek.
Wow. Well, it's great to meet you too. RedWeek, we've been around for a while. We're not a very well-known name, but we've been around since 2002. Our founder, it's kind of funny how we came about. Our founder, his name is Randy Conrad. He's a great guy, but he was really interested in timeshares or the accommodations that you could get in timeshares, but was very hesitant about them. Because they kind of have that stigma, everybody thinks timeshare, eek, scary, scary thing. But just what you get with a timeshare is so much more than a regular hotel room. And so he actually had talked to timeshare owners and found that timeshare owners could not use their timeshare. And so he developed RedWeek as sort of a community or a marketplace for timeshare owners to come and rent out their unused timeshares to people who wanted to stay in them. So that's pretty exciting because I'm going to tell you, I am not a timeshare owner. I was pretty close to becoming one, but I got to tell you, it was kind of annoying speaking with other owners and finding, we really want this week, but either it's going at a premium or we can't have this week, or here are, depending on the package that you purchase, these are the dates that are available for you. And they're never usually good for the family because, let's say the family, you try to plan it around when the kids are out from school where you could say, okay, here's 1 or 2 weeks for the year where we're looking to go to XYZ location. And it just never seems to happen as smoothly as it should. Well, and that's very true. I was not a timeshare owner. We actually, to tell you my kind of funny little story, is I was planning a surprise trip for my daughter's 6th birthday to the theme parks in Orlando. And we had planned 5 nights in a regular, very well-known resort, and we decided on staying the additional 5 nights at one of the timeshare resorts there in the Orlando area. And that kind of got me thinking. We stayed at the hotel, and the hotel was beautiful. It was fantastic. But, we were in the summer, there in the summer, and in that heat, it was stress. And you have 3 people. I'm a mom of 1, and you have 3 people stuck in this little room with 1 bathroom and a mini fridge. And by the end of the day, you're like, okay, I'm done. Literally. And when we moved on we were in our second part of the stay, we were in our 1-bedroom unit, and we had a living room, we had a dining room, we had a full kitchen, a bedroom for mom and dad, a bathroom and a washer and dryer, and it was like the stress just literally fell away. I mean, we each had our own personal space, and I'm a firm believer that moms and dads need their time too on vacation. But after that stay, I was so amazed at just the difference in vacationing. It really got me looking into timeshares. And eventually, we ended up buying. But the one thing, we did our homework. And that was the key, is doing your homework. So knowing the resort that you're buying into, knowing the accommodations they offer, when you can travel, so in buying, homework is important, but when you're renting, homework is important as well. So, the savings, when you're renting a timeshare from an owner, you can save substantial amounts from booking directly with the resort. So it works both ways, whether you're buying or whether you're renting. You have to know what you're doing. That's the important thing. But, it's as long as you do your homework, it usually works out pretty good.
So, Valerie, we're speaking with Valerie Hines of RedWeek. So my question is this. Would you say RedWeek works more as kind of like a broker, kind of like that third party? Are you involved with tell me the involvement. Is the involvement more just connecting the buyer-seller, or is RedWeek anywhere involved in the negotiation process over the actual price?
No, with RedWeek, I look at us as a community. Basically a place for owners and their renters or their buyers to come together. So while in the past, in prior years, we hadn't been involved in transactions, That's actually changed a little because of all the scamminess of the timeshare industry.
Yes.
Yeah. And I am, as the customer service manager, I deal with a lot of claims of fraud. I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a safety girl. I hate to say it, but I'm all about educating people so they know what they're getting into, so they know what they're doing their due diligence. But we're basically a place, it doesn't matter which product an owner chooses, whether it be a do-it-yourself resale, where they post their resale themselves, or the rental, the same thing, a do-it-yourself rental. They rent it themselves, and they handle the transaction themselves. But we also have a full-service option where we'll step in and we'll act as the intermediary. We'll post their week for rent or for sale. We'll handle that transaction for them. We want to do this at an affordable price. We don't want it to cost a fortune because there are so many companies out there charging thousands of dollars to do the exact same thing and nothing gets done. That's kind of it in a nutshell. So, we're all about transparency. We really want people to be comfortable with what they're doing on our site. So there are cases with resales where we'll have one of our broker partners will kind of mediate the transaction. But owners can do it themselves as well. So, we can be involved in some transactions, but at the same time, many owners choose to do it themselves, and that's okay too.
Valerie, is there a premium if RedWeek is involved in the negotiation process?
We do. We have rentals and we have resales. With our full service rentals, basically what that means is the owner is going to come to us. They're going to say, hey, I have this week that I want to rent to somebody else. We then, from there, we confirm that week. We make sure that they are the owner. We make sure that they can rent it out. We post it we advertise it on our website. And when somebody comes in with an offer or wanting to book it, we handle that transaction for them. In those cases, on the rentals, we take the payment. We hold the payment until the renter checks in. Once the renter checks in, then we disperse the funds to the owner, basically making sure the renter gets what they want or gets what they paid for.
Perfect.
And on the resale side, we always go through a closing company. And so our broker will act as the intermediary between the buyer and the seller, basically handle the negotiation, and we'll coordinate the closing for between the buyer and the owner, as well as the resort.
Perfect. I do have one negative Nelly question. So
sure, and I love those.
Because we're setting this one up. Okay. So let's just say it's the place itself was oversold. Not in the sense of overbooked, but it was said that there were 3 working bathrooms and 4 rooms, or 2 rooms, but let's say there was a bathroom that's unavailable, or if there's a pool that needed service. How does RedWeek get involved in disputes like that, or do you kind of leave it between the buyer and seller?
Well, that's a great question because, on the do-it-yourself rentals, where an owner deals directly with their renter, that would be between the owner and the renter, which is why we're very, very, very strong about making sure you pay with a safe payment method. If you have any issues, in most cases, online payment services are great, but once you send the money, it's gone. And
that's it.
So it's up to so it's up to the owner to really be sympathetic and refund something. So, but it was about a year and a half ago we started RedWeek Payments, and RedWeek Payments is, again, like I said, we hold the funds until the renter checks in. If there are no disputes, we send it to the owner. So when a renter has a dispute, and the best advice I can always give is if there's ever a problem, contact the front desk first. Ask for a manager. Let them know what the issue is. Because many times issues that happen are outside of the owner's control. So resorts, if there's a problem like a not working bathroom, they're going to fix it.
Okay.
It's simple as that. They're going to take care of it. If a resort is completely booked up, and something is absolutely the resort's fault, they'll go ahead and they'll work it out with the guest. If it's a situation where, let's say somebody booked a one-bedroom unit and they got a studio, well, that's a material dispute. That's a valid, very valid material dispute. Now, if a renter is paying with RedWeek payments, for example, they can file a dispute. Then basically we act as the arbiter. We'll contact the resort, and we're all about making parties whole. Simple as that. So again, if it's something outside of the owner's control, we're going to step in. We're going to try and get it fixed. If it's something that cannot be fixed, well, then we look at it. It doesn't happen often at all, but we're going to look at that and we're going to say, okay, how much is this renter out? And I think since RedWeek payment started and our full-service rental program started, it maybe has happened 3 times. So, but the cool thing about timeshare resorts is that generally they always have some units on hand in case of unit breakage, and so they can move somebody if need be. But they never really oversell. So, it's when you're dealing with timeshares, they book what they have, and that's it, no more. So it's generally the resort is going to make it right. If that doesn't happen, the renter always has the option of filing a dispute, and then we step in, we contact the resort when somebody's using our payment service, and then we'll get it resolved.
We're speaking with Valerie Hines from RedWeek.com, the largest online marketplace for renting, buying, and selling timeshares. I do have a fun question for you now that you successfully answered the Nervous Nelly question.
I answer that all day long, so it's not a Nervous Nelly question.
Okay. So question about what data or insight that you could provide to us on, what are, the top destinations for timeshare rentals? And, what are some of the best deals that are going on with RedWeek?
Oh, heavens, there are so many, and this is a fun question, and I could easily talk a good hour and a half about this one.
Okay.
Every year in February, we actually put together, it's the RedWeek Top 25 list. And the top 25 list are basically the most popular timeshares on our site based on the number of bookings and the number of inquiries that are sent about those bookings. And so our top 25 list, we just actually published it about a week ago. And number 1, Aruba. I'm actually a Midwestern girl, and I'm not a beach person, so Aruba is not quite my thing. But Aruba has come in number 1. Year after year after year. We also have Newport Coast, California is another big one. It's close. It's great because the resort is like an oasis. Close enough to the theme parks that you can enjoy those, close enough to San Diego. So it's a cool place to be because everything is, if you're okay with LA traffic and, California traffic, it's a cool place to be because you can get everywhere. Hawaii, always another big one. Atlantis, which, if you're familiar with the Bahamas, everybody has seen those Atlantis commercials. That's number 7. Yeah, number 7 on our list. I've been there, and it is magnificent. For summer vacations, Hilton Head and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, also amazing places. And then always in the list is Orlando, which I'm kind of an Orlando junkie and spend a lot of time there. And so Orlando is another big one. But definitely Aruba, the Caribbean, always very, very popular. Florida, California. Right now, actually, and some of the best deals that are out there right now, I don't know if anybody's a baseball fan. I am. And spring training. And so it's funny because I was actually just looking at, we're Milwaukee Brewers people here where I live. And so I was just looking at accommodations to head down for maybe a week to see a few spring training games. But, We have the Grapefruit League in Florida, the Cactus League in Arizona, and it can be some amazing places to stay and still see the game on kind of really a bargain for spring training tickets.
Nice. That's really nice. Valerie, I guess my last question for you is, if so for our listeners, they want to find out more information about RedWeek, plug the Facebook page, maybe the website, and some of your other social media handles if you have them available.
Yeah, sure. Everything. Our website, www.redweek.com. We have a magnificent, amazing customer service team. At the bottom of every page is a contact us link. So if anybody ever has any questions, because it can be confusing, they're more than welcome to call in or email in and let us know any questions you have. We're also on Facebook, and that's facebook.com/RedWeek, Twitter, twitter.com/RedWeek. And, we're not too active in Facebook and Twitter right now, but I expect that's going to grow before too long.
Perfect. RedWeek is a smart hidden treasure. Travelers can get deep discounts at great resorts, whether it's renting or potentially purchasing timeshare, but it's a booming way to book vacations, including exotic spots and last-minute getaways. Valerie Hines, I want to thank you so much for joining Late Night Parents.
Oh, well, it's been my pleasure.
And have a great day.
You as well. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.